However, archaeologist and infinitist, as my eyes grew accustomed to the light, details of the room will then emerge slowly from the mist. Strange animals, statues, and gold everywhere, a glint of gold for the moment, an eternity it must have seemed to the others standing by. I was struck dumb with amazement, and when Lord Carnarvon, unable to stand the suspense any longer, inquired anxiously, "Can you see anything?" It was all I could do to get out the words, "Yes, wonderful things." It's interesting to see that people had so much clutter even thousands of years ago. The only way to get rid of it all was to bury it, and then some archaeologist went and dug it all up. And many questions come to mind: how influenced by contemporary religions were many of the scholars who wrote the texts available today. How many scholars have simply assumed that males have always played the dominant role in the leadership and creative invention, and projecting this assumption into their analysts of ancient cultures. Why do so many people educated in this century think of classical Greece as the first major culture, when written language was in use in great cities built at least 25 centuries before that time? And perhaps most important, why is it continually inferred that the age of pagan religions, the time of the worship of female deities, if mentioned at all, was dark and chaotic, mysterious and evil, without the light of order and reason that supposedly accompanied the later male religions, when it was been archaeologically confirmed that the earliest law of government, medicine, agriculture, architecture, wheeled vehicles, ceramics, textiles, and written language were initially developed in societies that worshiped a goddess. We may find ourselves wondering about the reasons for the lack of easily available information on societies who, for thousands of years, worshipped the ancient creatress of the universe. I will tell you a little secret about archaeologists, dear reader, that they're here, listener, viewer. They all pretend to be very high-minded. They claim that their sole aim is excavation, is to uncover the mysteries of the past and add to the store of the human knowledge. They lie. What they really want is a spectacular discovery so they can get their names in the newspapers and inspire envy and hatred in the hearts of their rivals. The geologist takes up the history of the earth at the point where the archaeologist leaves it and carries it further back into remote iniquity, discover how to visit the past and bring yesterday's stories into our lives today. For me, archaeology is not a source of illustrations for written text, but an independent source of historical information with no less value and importance, sometimes more importance than written success. Come with me and you will find what's been trapped inside my mind. Archaeologists only look at what lies beneath their feet. The sky and the heavens don't exist for them. The success of Egyptian surgery and the set and broken bones is very fully demonstrated, and the large number of well-joined fractures found in the ancient skeletons. In this high field strewn with stones, I walk by a green mound, its edges sheared by the plow. Crumbs of animal bone lie smashed and scattered around under the clover leaves, and shivers, silvers of flint seem to grow like white leaves among green in the wind. The chestnut heaves where a man's grave has been. Whatever the barrow held once has been taken away. A hollow of needles and dock lies at the center, filled with rain from a sky so gray it reflects nothing at all. I poke in the crumbled rock for something they left behind, but after that funeral there is nothing at all to find. On the map in front of me, the Gothic letters pick out dozens of tombs like this, breached, plundered, left empty, no fragments littered about of a dead and buried race. In the margins of histories, no fragments. These splintered bones construct no human face. These stones are simply stones. In museums, their urns lie behind glass, and their shaped flints are labeled like butterflies. All that they did was die, and all that was has happened since means nothing to this place above long clouds. The skies turned to a brilliant red and showing the water's face when living and not these dead, until humans came and made anthills out of these mountains. Was saying, looking up at the langurs, the land had belonged to these monkeys and to barking deer, a tiger, a leopards, jackals, the great horned owl, and even the cheetahs, even to cheetahs and lions. The archaeology of the wilderness consisted of these lost animals, not of ruined walls, of ambulance and Potts herds program, and went back to the beginning of time. It was a little like a midden out back of his father's castle. Where can one buy a lit of that right stuff? Required to shrug off the fact that your airplane is now convertible. Every archaeologist knows in his heart why he digs. He digs in pity and humility, that the dead may live again, that what is past may now be forever lost, that something may be salvaged from the wreck of ages. A snake of stones beneath the waters, soldiers march past, spectral daughters, phantom travelers to work or home. Atlantean lives replay in foam, the water drowned, our extinct times of joy and war, of love and crime, the divers wrapped by sound immemorial, echoes entombed, sweet voices choral, of a flame of Erasmus, and barking sounds and of canine guards, and strangers found, the road roused from silent sleep to tell explorers how ancients weep. No, the problem with material remains is that they are silent. They don't provide their own interpretations, and that means various interpretations are possible. Curious archaeologists later dug up a body and found a green crust on the front of his skull, meaning Bray had probably worn not a silver but a cheaper, lighter copper nose. Or perhaps he switched noses like earrings depending on the status of his company. Abandoned weapons and corpses may be washed away, removed by animals, dismembered by the victors of as trophies, or buried, burned, or otherwise disposed of by the vanquished after defeat. It is reasonable to expect that a direct archaeological evidence of warfare will be limited, and that it will actually tend to underestimate the frequency and bloody nature of past conflicts. Determination filled her as she made up her mind. Her parents did this for a living, and she was going to prove in her own way that she could be useful on these trips, so she would be a part of a family business and help find these artifacts that seem to be disappearing into the mist. The only field in which we can find absolute certainty is religion. In all other activities, we must be content with the best interpretation we can advance given the data as they now stand. Every human catastrophe, however, is archaeology gain. He didn't show any obvious signs of the Black Death, but it would have suited him. The method I propose to explore in this rhyme until the end of time, top of my mind.